Thank you so much, Ananda Bihari Prabhu, for the opportunity to join with everyone this morning. Thank you, Adi Purusha Prabhu, for the very, very sweet Guru Vandana prayer. And just to everyone for joining this morning. So nice to see everyone. So we will be reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 20, which is the rainy and autumn seasons in Vrindavan. Beautiful description. And we will be reading verses 25 through 28 this morning. So I'll just go ahead and share the screen. Okay. So we'll get into the verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Evam vanam tadvarshishtam pakva karjura jambumat gogopale vritorantum sabala pravishadarihi. Translation. When the Vrindavan forest had thus become resplendent, filled with ripe dates and jambu fruits, Lord Krishna, surrounded by his cows and cowherd boyfriends and accompanied by Sri Balaram, entered that forest to enjoy. Denavo mandagaminya udho bharena bhuyasa yayur bhagavata huta drutam pritya snutastanaha. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. The cows had to move slowly because of their weighty milk bags, but they quickly ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he called them, their affection for him causing their udders to become wet. Srila Prabhupada comments, the cows, being fed by new grasses, became very healthy, and their milk bags were all very full. When Lord Krishna called them by name, they immediately came to him out of affection, and in their joyful condition, the milk flowed from their bags. Vanaokasa pramudita vanarajir madhuchutaha jaladhara girer nadad asana dadrishe guhaha. Translation. The Lord saw the joyful Aborigine girls of the forest, the trees dripping sweet sap, and the mountain waterfalls, whose resounding indicated that there were caves nearby. Text 28, this is our final verse for today. Kvachid vanaspati krode guhayam chabi varshati nirvishya bhagavan reme kandamula phalashanaha. Translation. When it rained, the Lord would sometimes enter a cave or the hollow of a tree to play and to eat roots and fruits. Purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami explains that during the rainy season, bulbs and roots are very tender and palatable, and Lord Krishna would eat them along with wild fruits found in the forest. Lord Krishna and his young boyfriends would sit in the hollow of a tree or within a cave and enjoy pastimes while waiting for the rain to stop. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatambitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari. Good morning, everyone. So before we begin, just like to seek everyone's blessings. Prabhuji there in the temple room, Hare Krishna, Hare Purusha Prabhu, all of the assembled devotees who are here this morning, Hare Krishna. And really hoping and praying for your blessings so that we can have an uplifting discussion, an inspiring discussion, and one that continues to fuel and inspire us on our spiritual path. So thank you so much. So these verses are such beautiful descriptions of the autumn and rainy season in Vrindavan. As we know, and I'm sure many devotees have emphasized this point already, that Srila Prabhupada had compiled Light of the Bhagavat, which is a very, very beautiful book focused upon this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and with beautiful East Asian style illustrations. That was Srila Prabhupada's concept, to have those illustrations for one religion conference that he had been invited to, I believe in Japan. And he wanted to depict, these beautiful verses through art as well. And later on, his disciples were able to find an excellent artist in that medium who did beautiful illustrations. It's a wonderful book to see. And it really helps to bring these beautiful pastimes to life. There's so much that goes on in the background, not only in Krishna's pastimes, but just in general, that sometimes we may not notice, or sometimes we may only notice on a kind of very subtle subconscious level. So how beautiful that the Srimad Bhagavatam is so full and so complete that we're given not only the beautiful personal pastimes of the Supreme Lord, but at the same time, we're actually given a section that delves into what's happening amid the pastimes, what the trees in Vrindavan are like, what the different types of weather and climate are like that we find in the spiritual world. And in Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, as a reflection, of course, and we just see so many beautiful details, and the way in which all of the living entities are really existing for Krishna's pleasure, for Krishna's ultimate enjoyment. So that's one point that we can explore this morning. So I'll just read one verse from Bhagavad Gita that will help us to enter into this first point. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 10, text 41. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimad urjitam eva tattad eva vagachatvam mamatejo misha sambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. And the purport is very short, so we'll also share this. This is Srila Prabhupada's purport. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. So this is the first level of how we might be able to understand these pastimes, to appreciate all of the beauty that we are hearing about in direct relationship to Krishna, knowing that it is all emanating from Krishna and that Krishna's energies are giving rise to all of these beautiful, beautiful manifestations of nature. So we can say that in the spiritual sense, in the eternal sense, that it's not only that these different aspects of nature are coming from Krishna's energy, but also they're fully cognizant and they are deliberately existing for Krishna's pleasure and also reacting to his presence. So we try to see, even in this material world, we try to see the beauty and in this world and any splendor, anything splendorous in this world as belonging to Krishna and expanding from Krishna. So what happens when we see that something is coming from someone? We feel gratitude. We feel gratitude for it. So certainly in kind of westernized countries, especially, we're quite far removed from this reality in so many situations. We go to the grocery store and we can get any type of fruit regardless of the season. And it's just in a plastic bag, and we are able to, of course, offer it to Krishna and honor it. So that's the main principle. But at the same time, sometimes we're a little bit removed from this very visceral reality that it's all coming directly from Krishna, that Krishna is actually just giving all of these things. Those who are a little bit more living in agricultural kind of rural lifestyle, of course, Adipurusha Prabhu has shared many times about his wonderful experiences in New Vrindavan, being in touch with that kind of agrarian kind of life. And of course, maybe in that circumstance, and like Bhima Prabhu, our Bhima Prabhu here is also now living, seems to be quite out there in the country and living a very simple, beautiful life, Krishna-centered life. So in this way, we find that people who are living in those circumstances sometimes are a little bit more immediately in touch with this feeling of, okay, this is all coming from Krishna. And how can I offer it back to him? How can I remember him while receiving this bounty that Krishna has given? And how can all of these resources that are coming, it's not only fruits and flowers, but wood, natural resources, minerals, water, so much that Krishna is giving so naturally. How can this all be offered back to him? And how can we appreciate the beauty of it in a Krishna conscious way? So we find that our sadhana is actually very important in this sense, to kind of actively remember that everything springs from a spark of Krishna's splendor. Our sadhana may help us actually to have this Shastra Chakshu, that if we're reading the scriptures, if we're chanting Krishna's holy names, we are able to kind of more actively remember where everything is coming from. And when we see beauty in this world, we're not enjoying it separately from Krishna. We're remembering that this is coming from Krishna. It's kind of in its proper natural position as emanating from Krishna. I remember very well spending time with a friend of mine. I don't know, maybe some of you have met Devavan Prabhu. He lives in Florida, in Gainesville, Alachua. We were spending some time together. He was in the Bhakti Center community also before he was initiated. His name is Michael Collins. I'm sure some of you remember him. But we were together on the beach one time late at night here in New Jersey, and we were seeing the ocean, powerful ocean waves, and there was a beautiful full moon above the ocean, and the light of the moon was reflecting on the surface of the water. It was just a very, very beautiful sight. And we were standing there and just appreciating that vision. And later on, we were having a conversation. We were speaking about, sometimes it's hard to remember Krishna. What's your experience? Or, when do you find that you're forgetful of Krishna? When do you find that you're more conscious, actively conscious of Krishna? And he was saying, yeah, we were just sharing how, for both of us, sometimes we struggle with forgetfulness and not having that consciousness at the forefront. And he said, well, at least I remember Krishna in moments like, remember earlier when we were looking at the moonlight, when we were looking at the moon, I remembered him then. And I was so ashamed. I had to admit, I said, I wasn't really in that frame of mind at that time. I was appreciating the beauty, but I wasn't necessarily in that frame of mind. So it's something that we progressively try to work on. And what I can say, though, Krishna is so kind to give us these very, very powerful visions of beauty in this world, that even those of us who are still, just trying to develop that consciousness, trying to develop that practice of keeping Krishna in the forefront and remembering Krishna in relationship to all the beauty that we see. Sometimes there are just such beautiful sights that Krishna provides and such beautiful nature that Krishna has created and expanded, that even those who are, not necessarily even aspiring, to remember God, they'll naturally feel some type of piety. They will feel a special presence and feel that they're part of something, greater. We hear, example. I've never personally been to the Grand Canyon, but I know that many people have told me, and people even, colleagues at work and everything who maybe are not so, considering themselves to be, spiritual or religious in any way, they'll just share, that they felt emotional, that they felt that there was something very powerful that they were beholding. So this is one of many ways in which Krishna makes himself known, and his hand can be seen. So, so there's another part of what we're looking at here, which is the nature of all of Krishna's expansion, all of the nature that expands from Krishna as it manifests in the spiritual kingdom, when Krishna is interacting with the trees, with the bees, with the flowers, with everything, with the cows, of course. And how beautiful is this description of the cows as they approach Krishna. Naturally, their udders are becoming full with rich milk, and the milk is just dripping as they approach Krishna from their happiness, from their devotion, from their love. And we can also understand that they exist only for Krishna's pleasure. And when they experience the presence of Krishna, of course, in Vrindavan, everyone is always experiencing the presence of Krishna. And we can also, as Prabhupada has said many, many times, we can enter into that Vrindavan consciousness regardless of our physical location. And so what does that mean? It means to realize that Krishna is ever present. It means to actually perceive that. So the cows, when they approach Krishna, they're overflowing with milk. They just want to make an offering to Krishna. So in the same way, when we can actually perceive that we are in the presence of Krishna, we also naturally want to make an offering. And whatever Krishna has kindly gifted us, whatever abilities, whatever offering we're able to make, that's just naturally flowing. So many times we speak about inspiration, feeling inspiration, and how inspiration may flow, and how sometimes inspiration feels a little bit elusive. So we're finding a very beautiful secret here, that when when the cows approach Krishna, naturally whatever is within them is flowing so beautifully. So in the same way for us, when we are striving to approach the devotees of Krishna, to approach Krishna uh, in this way, we will feel the presence of Krishna as a very palpable reality. I don't know, maybe some of you have experienced this, even if we can't directly perceive Krishna's presence, when we're among those amazing devotees who are really tasting Krishna's presence, and we can feel that in senior devotees and advanced devotees, when we're around them, when those who even just anyone who's actively engaged in devotional service, they're experiencing Krishna's presence. So when we are in that kind of company, suddenly we're feeling Krishna's presence more deeply, and whatever is within us, we're trying to offer that, and we can feel that natural flow. So I'll read one other verse here. This verse. Yes, Kula was kind enough to share this verse with me. We were having a little discussion last night, and this is a beautiful verse that really applies to this beautiful section. So this is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it's originally coming from the Narada Pancharatra. So this verse is Sarvo Padi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Translation: Bhakti, or devotional service, means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So this is such a beautiful meditation that we can come to realize and connect with the reality that we are parts and parcels of Krishna. So just like this description, how the cows are existing for his pleasure, how the trees are existing for his pleasure, how the caves are existing for his pleasure, to give him and the cowherd boy shelter. In our own way, we can aspire to exist for his pleasure and to offer whatever guna, whatever quality we've been given, to offer that to Krishna, and to aspire for the purification of our nature. Krishna loves variety. He loves individuality. He's given us our individual qualities for a reason. But at the same time, we're on a path of purification. So he says in Bhagavad Gita that he will preserve what we have and carry what we lack. So there's never a question of losing our individuality, losing our qualities that he has given. But there is this experience of purification, and it takes many, many forms. But in remembering Krishna, we're trying to find ways to perceive and experience his presence, so that his presence will bring out our offering. We all have offerings to make, and perceiving Krishna's presence through devotional service, through Vaishnav Sangha, through Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. These are all these processes that will help us to come through the conditioning, to feel Krishna's presence, and that whatever is within us that Krishna wants us to offer, however Krishna wants our qualities to be purified, however Krishna wants our remembrance of him to take a certain shape and form, that will manifest in due course of time. And we'll understand that this life, Prabhupada explained, and I was listening to the farewell message, farewell address of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj. Very, very incredible, touching. he made this address to the devotees, and he recalled Srila Prabhupada's statement, just give this one life. Just give this one life for Krishna. And Maharaj said so emphatically, it was so powerful to hear. He said, do that, do that. So for all of us, we're trying to find ways to offer our life and to act for Krishna's pleasure. So we see in these beautiful descriptions that that's what all of these living entities are doing. They're all Satchit Ananda, and they're all offering everything. They're offering their everything. Atma Nivedanam. They're offering everything to Krishna in their own unique ways. And there's this understanding that Krishna's pleasure is our pleasure. They're all in bliss because they're existing only for Krishna's bliss. So I will stop here. Thank you all so much, and would love to open things up for discussion to hear everyone's thoughts and reflections. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dina Bandhu Prabhu, great class. My takeaway is that we don't have anything to, we don't have to surrender our individuality. We just have to surrender some false ego and keep serving in the association of Vaishnavas. Thank you very much. And thanks for bringing up Kadambakanda Maharaj's name in this class. That address was so touching, so inspirational. Thank you very much, Dina Bandhu. Okay, we're opening it up for questions, reflections. And Temple Room, do you have anything to say in glorification of Krishna and his devotees? Like Dina Bandhu Prabhu said, you don't feel Krishna present in your life? Go to the devotees.
Okay, Hare Krishna, wonderful class. We are attracted by hearing this atmosphere with the entire population of the creation enhancing Krishna's pleasure. The rain, the vegetation, everything beautiful and harmonious and a loving atmosphere. And then we contrast that to the reality that we perceive on the dimension that we're in right now. There's war, there's famine, there's conflict, there's envy, there's hatred, there's fear, there's contentiousness and shortages, and such a horrible alternative. But the description of the quality of life in the forest of Vrindavan, it calls to us and says, come back here. And then interesting enough, we see Prahlad Maharaj saying, there are those who go to the mountain, to the forest, to the remote places, to the seclusion, to the countryside, to withdraw from the distractions of the passionate city. But then Prahlad Maharaj says, but myself, I feel concern for the fools and rascals who are separated from Krishna. And I feel Krishna's pain and concern for them. And therefore I want to go to those dark places and help to call them back to the life of loving service to Krishna. And Prabhupada said when he was in Los Angeles, do you remember how I was living in Vrindavan? Such a wonderful spiritual atmosphere. But he said, for me, that would be another form of sense gratification. I'm called to the battlefield. I'm called to the mission of Lord Chaitanya. We're not exactly in the Ghostanandi mood. We're in the Bhajanandi mood. We're in the Ghostanandi mood. We want to please Krishna by giving Krishna to others. And when we do that, the atmosphere of Vrindavan is invoked and we experience a natural harmony. Prabhupada, right here on the Lower East Side, devotees were saying, Prabhupada, it's so dirty, it's so disgusting, it's so unharmonious and unattractive. And Prabhupada said, you must see it the way I see it. Krishna is the reservoir of all beauty, and if we see Krishna everywhere, we'll see beauty everywhere. And actually, I can see that this is a wonderful arrangement by Krishna to give us service and to show his love to others. So there's that forest scene, and then there's the scene of like leaving, in one sense, leaving the spiritual world to give Krishna to others. Anyway, maybe talking too long. Glories to Srila Prabhupada, that's what I heard.
Thank you so much, Adi Purusha Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's just so nice to hear the personal aspects, about having a relationship. In a lot of religions and when they're trying to make a connection, there's no detailed information that you can grasp and get information on to love someone. If you love someone, you want to know their activities, what they're doing, what their nature is. This enhances the understanding, and it makes the experience real. And we're trying to make a real, loving connection with Krishna. And here it is described. All this information is right unfolding before us. It's like watching a movie. You could actually visualize all this Krishna's pastimes. I just came back into the city, New York. I haven't been here in years. Actually, I was born in New York here, and I haven't been back in years. And one of the things that I noticed when I came into the city, I was completely, disoriented. I had all my luggage, and I'm older now. And I went to the machine to get a ticket for the train, and there was a woman there, and I showed her my ID, and I explained, I have a senior citizen's pass, and then she points to the machine, and she says, so I have to do everything with the machine. I couldn't even I couldn't have a relationship, a transaction with it. It was so impersonal. That was the first meeting. So then I went to the machine, and I tried to put my money in, and then the machine had a little sign that said, no coins, no cash. So I had to go to another machine. So I went to another machine, and the fare was only like $2 or $3 or whatever, $2.50, whatever. That's all. I just wanted to get from Port Authority to the temple, and I had to use a credit card. And so I went in, and I couldn't use the credit card. So then I went to another machine. And when I got to the third machine, it was this very nice lady there. And she looked at me, and I had, kind of devotional clothes on. And she looked, I had my head shaved, and it was obvious I was from another planet. And she looked at me, and she said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So she got me a ticket, but that whole 15 minutes trying to figure this out. So go to a machine, and I remember years ago, you could go to the booth and you could talk to, you could say good morning, you could get, you could give some money and get some kind of correspondence back. So here it is, two sides of, and the display of what we're having is so impersonal. You can't even, you go to the store now, and they're directing you to a machine. You can't even go and have that experience anymore. And here we have the opposite side of it, with understanding our relationship with God, our relationship with Krishna, and all these details are there, what he does, what the atmosphere, the environment is in. It's just so refreshing. This is how we develop a relationship. And the world right now is completely opposed to that. I probably spoke too much, but that's my little experience.
Oh, thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. No, you didn't speak too much. No, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your class today. It was inspiring as well. And that made me thought as well, like after listening these two stories, I've been thinking about one of the times that I was traveling as well, and thinking how important it is to love everywhere you go, even if you don't know the place where you are. Yeah, I was I was traveling for the first time to Japan. Yeah, and it's a different culture, different language, different people. Everything is very different, especially because I'm also someone that has roots from Africa, from Europe, and a mix, right? And I'm a tall woman as well, and I don't know, very visible from far, right? And so I arrived there, and being in the metro line as well, I was looking to my phone and trying to find a way. I was a bit lost to arrive to, it was the first time arriving from the airport, right? And how important is loving and be kind, right? How important, because when someone, a girl, saw me a bit lost, right? Looking to my phone and trying to find a way how to arrive to the hotel, how to do it. And yeah, manage the situation. She came to me and she said to me, do you need help? Don't worry, I will help you and I will make you to arrive to the hotel. She took my bag. She showed me how to arrive with the metro line, how to do it. And she came with me with a big smile, and she made sure that I arrived to the door of my hotel. She called all the way, that it was like an hour. Yeah, on the metro line together, and saying to me so many stories, beautiful words, and all the time holding a big smile. So that made me feel super at home when I was alone for the first time in a country that I was not knowing at all, very different than the countries that I was living and visiting, right? And yeah, it was a pleasure, right? So how important is loving all the time?
Hare Krishna, that's a wonderful reflection. And I just wanted to actually ask your name and the name of the other Prabhu who just spoke. You're both new to me. I'm so happy that I look forward to meeting you in person.
Oh yeah, Justy. You can call me Justy. Yeah.
Justy. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So good to meet you. And then
Nandaloka Prabhu.
Anandaloka Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Really looking forward to meeting you in person, Prabhu.
He's from another planet. Yeah.
Ananda Loka from Ananda Loka.
Yes, and I just wanted to comment briefly on what you both shared. How actually I remember I read somewhere that, especially during this pandemic time, people were sorely lacking what they call non-primary connections with people. So yes, we may have been able to be in contact with our family, with our close friends, with our immediate community, but actually there's a really, really important kind of psychological effect that these kind of secondary contacts with people have on us. They make us feel that we're part of, a greater community, and people were really sorely missing that. And it's interesting because, as you both alluded to, in society right now, we're actually losing that, regardless of, pandemic or no pandemic. It's, those secondary connections with people, just having friendly conversations in the store, so on and so forth. There's self-checkout now. There's, we're not having these nice interactions as much anymore. And it's a great, when we do have those interactions, it's just such a great opportunity to share kindness, to share smiles, as Justy said. And also, have you noticed, that if you just listen to somebody, if they start sharing something with you and you're just sitting there kind of patiently hearing them and not speaking, people are astounded. They're amazed, like, oh my God, this person is actually listening to what I'm saying. And it's just, you can form a very deep connection. And how long does a stranger have to stay a stranger? Not doesn't take too long for it to move beyond, being strangers. So thank you for sharing these points. It's a real personalism, as Srila Prabhupada taught us. I see that Bhima Prabhu has his hand raised.
Well,
He's probably moving to the city. He's announcing that he's moving where the help is needed.
Haribo. No, I have my friends. They're good listeners, my friends, because they don't say much. They listen to me complain. Yes, that Krishna has put me on the fringe of devotee society because, I just he wants to keep the others safe. But I would like to say, Dina, that was a wonderful class. I loved how the fact that you brought up how friendship, closeness, and the feeling of home. And I would just briefly like to, it's not off subject, but I had serendipitously fallen upon can I be heard, by the way? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. We can hear you.
Okay. I had serendipitously fallen on a video, NDE, near-death experience, and there's a slew of them on the internet now, and these are people who are clinically, scientifically declared passed from this this realm for some time. These are scientists, these are atheists, these are agnostics, these are religious people, engineers, lawyers, etc. I listen to one after another, and they all talk about this overwhelming unconditional love that they are embraced with when they separate from their bodies. And they're also, when they try to describe the experience, the lights, the colors, the embracing love that they feel, they can only describe it. And all of them, it's amazing because it's a disparate group. They're from all over the world. They're all separate videos, all separate times. They describe it as home, that for the first time in their life, they feel that they're coming home. And when they are told that they must return, and of course, myself, and I'm sure there's many amongst you are like, oh, well, who knows what's going on there. But when you hear like, and I've listened to no less than 36 of them, different ones through, they're about an hour long each. When you hear it, you realize that they're telling you the truth of what they've experienced. This is experience. And it so correlates to what the Bhagavatam and what the Vedas tell us of Krishna's welcoming us home as prodigals, and how that this life is an experience of learning and growing, and how we are given that chance to grow and learn in every interaction we have with others. That the interaction we have with others is the most important thing that matters on this planet, whether we are kind, whether we are loving, whether we are open. And all of them talk of a life review whereby they are actually taken through every single experience that they had interacting with others. And they got to feel how the other person was feeling when they were conversing or sharing a moment or sharing some experience together, how the other person was feeling. So they not only knew how they felt, but they felt how the other person felt. And so that sort of bond is always there, that we're all one as children of Krishna, and that when we die or when we pass from this world, we are simply going home. They all described it with a capital H. It felt like going home. So I just thought I'd mention that because that's what your lecture brought up in my chest, brought up in my heart, is that feeling of security and peace to know that, hundreds of people who have experienced a sort of a higher plane have all come back saying the same thing, that there's nothing to worry about, that this is a time for learning, this is a time for growing, and that there's a great embracing unconditional love awaiting us. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for inspiring me to remember that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you. Very, very beautifully stated, and how for all of us, we're given so much beautiful, rich perspective about what it's like to pass from this world, how the scriptures give us that. Hare Krishna. It is now time for the Kanch. Hare Krishna.
Turn on your cameras, please. Okay, this was it. Dina Bandhu Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Beautiful class. The home assignment from Dina Bandhu Prabhu is that we should engage in a small talk with somebody on the street and tell them that beyond this world, there's another world of devotional service, world of prasadam, kirtan, chanting. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any opportunity to have a meaningful interaction with somebody who we may or may not ever see again. It doesn't make it any less meaningful. Just to have some nice, like Prabhu was saying earlier, just like a smile, kind words, learning about them, listening.
Yeah, small talk is very important. Imagine if you're engaged in a small talk with somebody like Ananda Loka, and your spiritual life has begun. That's it.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Dina Bandhu Prabhu, thank you very much. Beautiful lecture. Thanks for lecturing us on unconditional love. Bhima Prabhu, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
36 video. You're an ascetic. It's very austere.
It must have been a really intense experience to listen to those 36 videos. But,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised how he's still remaining in this body after watching so many of those.
It's true. I'm like, I can't wait. I'm anxious. The horses when they are get old, they pine for the fields. That's what they always look over the fence and they look out onto the pasture. and they call it pining for the fields. And they have a saying, of course, old farmers, when they're old and they're just like, I want to just go, I'm tired, and they have great faith and they know they're going home to God. They say, oh, he's pining for the fields. So those are the fields of Elysium, the fields of Krishna's pastimes, that we should be like in the painting, running with Krishna and Balaram in the fields with the calves chasing us, and Krishna holding up his flute and everyone laughing. This is real. It happens here in a temporary way, but it happens for real eternally where we are going. Of this, I've become much convinced by listening to the stories of these people who have gone and taking a brief glimpse and said, don't worry about a thing. It's all beautiful. It's all love. And when you hear it from literally dozens and dozens and dozens of very astute, well-accomplished people who are not woo-woo or new age, who actually, you're right, who are not talking in the new age jargon, but are actually scientists and atheists who say, well, I don't want to call it Christianity or this or that or Christ or even God, but I'll tell you one thing, you have nothing to worry about. There is an unbelievable love awaiting us. And you can get there so much faster if you share that love in this world, whether it be small talk or just listening to somebody else talk to you. As Justy was saying, she remembered this one person. She didn't say, oh, Japan was beautiful, I went here, I went there. She talked about that person who spent time with her, you know. So these are the memorable experiences, says the guy who doesn't like to be around people at all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna is beautiful reflection, Bhima Prabhu. And, you know, really just, you know, I just wanted to share briefly that, you know, I have some experience, personal experience of working in hospitals in spiritual care. And you hear people's near-death experiences. Sometimes they're willing to share. But I can say that, you know, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says that he's death. And that's, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he is death, and that there's a reason for that, that you see very much people who have that experience of coming close to the end of life and then coming back. There's something going on, whether they share it verbally or not. There's something you can see behind their eyes, that they're thinking about life in a completely different way. And this is, you know, a heart-changing experience for people, and affirming so much about our nature of, you know, the world beyond this one, as you said. So it's just really inspiring to hear the way you've meditated on this.
I think one of the most important things is that they all come back and their lives completely change. Like they're no longer worried about anything. Like a lot of them go into it, they had been like materialists or very anxious over their jobs, careers, etc. Then when they come back, they're just like, where is everybody? I just want to love everybody. You know, just you don't have to worry about anything. Come here, let me hold you, let me hug you, let me embrace you, let me tell you that I'll do anything for you. And all of them are saying that. And these are people who, when they talk about their previous life, you know, Wall Street types, you know what I mean? Just where greed and envy and lust and all that was primary in their life. And they come back and they completely change. And that is the sure sign that gives me confidence that what they're talking about is true. So I need that kind of stuff because I can't remember scripture. I have a sort of a cave-like echoing head. So I need experience. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I saw that Venetia had a hand up. Venetia, I don't know if you had something you wanted to share. Just wanted to.
It's probably a near death.
It was more a question, yeah, related to that. And I apologize, I didn't have my camera on. Just trying to reconcile this wonderful conversation and near-death experiences. And I've seen some of those videos too, and would really recommend them, with the notion of reincarnation. And, you know, I wonder if, like, for those people with the near-death experiences, they come back, but it makes me wonder if there's that homecoming and the welcoming and the embrace, and then the review of your life, and then is at that point, are you reassigned, if you will, based on that, you know, or whether you go back home and back to Godhead if you remembered Krishna at the end of your life, or, you know, just trying to reconcile those things in my mind. I know it's probably a longer conversation, and I know we're at the end. I don't mean to delay things for those who have to leave, but thank you very much for allowing me this question.
Thank you so much. It's such a wonderful question, really deep question, Venetia. Thank you. And I can just share one thought that came to mind, and I would love anyone else to share their comments too. But the way I would initially, in my mind, kind of reconcile these experiences of homecoming or these experiences of great relief and great joy, even in the context of reincarnation. So let's say this person who's describing a near-death experience, perhaps they are going to enter a new body, right? But perhaps there's a great relief and a great wonder and a great joy in experiencing that they still exist beyond the body, that there's a great joy in experiencing that they are a spirit soul. So in that way, as the body starts to dwindle and fall away, I think for many people, there's this feeling of, I'm still me, I still exist. Just because my body's dying doesn't mean that I'm going to cease to exist. So perhaps that experience of Krishna's Sat feature, his existence feature, that is what gives a great energy and a great hope to these people on some level. So even within the paradigm of reincarnation, there's still space for that joy and experiencing that we exist on such a deeper level than we may have initially thought. So I don't know if that is helpful in any way. I would love to hear the thoughts of others.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to chime in once again, but just in reflection, that was a continuous parallel amongst all the videos, was that they all were astonished that the fact that they maintained their individuality. They said, like, I'm looking down at myself and I'm looking, can I be heard, by the way? I'm out in the field, so sometimes I break up.
We can hear you.
Okay, so they maintain their individuality. They all are amazed that they still remember that they are them, but they become released from all the anxieties, all the things that were pressuring them are gone, but they still are who they are. And from what I remember being talked about, and which was really great about it, is because it exactly reflects what we have read in the Vedas and in the Bhagavatam and in any scripture, about what happens to the soul. It's parallel. So right away you're given that bolstering faith, that bolster to your faith. But they not only talk about their individuality, but they also talk that they're given a choice. They're given a choice whether they want to return. Now, a lot of them say, I don't want to return. And they say, well, it's not your time. There's still unfinished business. So reincarnation is unfinished business, according to these many things. And of course, according to our scriptures, that we come back to go from first grade to second grade to third grade. Graduation, I guess, is Goloka Vrindavan. When we graduate and we go out into remember when you're in college and they say, well, Prabhu, or dude, welcome to the real world. And you step out into life and it kicks your butt. But it's just the opposite. When you come into the real world with a capital R, you've graduated and now you're with Krishna. And what they said was it felt like home. Now, none of them, this is amazing too, none of them talked about meeting God. It was always about intermediaries. It was always about beings of light and love who guided them and showed them what they needed to work on, and et cetera, et cetera. And then that when they came back, they remembered vaguely everything that they had to work on. And I guess in reincarnation, they say that in the womb, we're promising, Krishna, I won't do it again. I won't do it again. And then as soon as we're born, like, we forget everything. I still haven't figured out that one. But what it is, according to these stories, and of course, according to our scriptures, is that you pick up right where you left off. Just like if you get divorced, it doesn't mean your problems are over. It means you're dragging your problems into somebody else's life. So you just keep dragging your problems along with you until you let go of them. So that's what I gathered from that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you for sticking around for this afterglow session. It was very, what do you call it? not a conspiracy, but mystical afterglow. Mystical afterglow. Thank you very much for contributing so actively. And yeah, let's wrap it up now. Dina Bandhu Prabhu, thank you very much. Beautiful lecture. Beautiful. And you accommodated everybody in this class. You included everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kula Pradeepa, you were encouraging. How did Dina Bandhu Prabhu do? How was the class?
Dina and I spoke last night. Dina always does wonderful classes. He's a good friend, and I love hearing from him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kulaji.
Yeah. Your friendship is so beautiful. You're such transcendental buddies. Thank you.
Your friendship, your guidance, my friend. Thank you so much, Ananda Bihari Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we're grateful to you, Ananda Bihari Prabhu, for sure.
I'm your servant. I'm your servant. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Love you all. Hari Hari Bol.
Love you too. Hari